gamer girl. Put on your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar, as the prophecy was foretold. I'm Broadcaster Nickels.
And I'm Boba Fett.
And today we're going to talk about a new apocalypse, Tsushima apocalypse. Broadcaster Nickels, are you aware of the fact that this game is basically sold out in the state of Washington right now?
You'll address me as the fat man.
Django was better.
Wow. Yeah, I remember purchasing it on Amazon and then you telling me it was sold out everywhere, and immediately looking on Amazon to verify my purchase and looking at the banner that says you have purchased this item and looking down to see that it's only selling for used at $159.99.
Yeah, it's like the new Tickle Me Elmo of 2020.
What the fuck just happened?
It's so weird too, because I love Sucker Punch and I love a lot of what they've done in the past, but they're kind of a fringe studio. Like, a lot of people probably haven't played many of their games, and there wasn't a lot of hype, in my opinion, behind this game leading up to release. I felt no hype at all.
Rewind just a little bit. Isn't Sucker Punch only known for Infamous in this game?
Well, those are the only games I've played from Sucker Punch. So,
well,
yeah.
They're an in-house studio for Sony. I don't think they make games for anybody else.
I think that they have made other games other than Infamous in this, though. I believe that. I believe that. I can't say it for certain, but I'm pretty sure.
I could have swore they were Sony loyalists.
Well, they are, but I think they made something else for Sony. Or
something we should forget.
Yeah. I don't know. I could have swore that they had some other game too, but it wasn't one that I'd played before. But either way, I felt no hype coming into this launch. And when I casually asked my wife to pick up a copy for me on her way home from an appointment, I was like, just go wherever. Everyone's going to have it. It doesn't matter where you go. She called me frantic saying, I just called 5 different places and showed up at 2 different places and nobody has it. What am I supposed to do? And I was just sitting there dumbfounded for several seconds, just like, whoa, what?
Well, let me lay down what I think is going on. We all are suffering from the same sickness of late. We call it the Kung flu. Scratch. We just call it the Corona vacation. That's a more positive spin, right? Anyways, let me get past the semantics here. I think what's happening is that people that play video games, like real gamers, that like to chew on things for a long time, see that Ghost of Tsushima is a long-term. I haven't played it yet, so I'm not going to assume anything or try to say anything, but it looks like Samurai Grand Theft Auto. Loosely. I'm not saying it's literally a 1-for-1, just skin samurais over Grand Theft Auto, but an open world, explore, get different missions, side quests, skins, all that fun stuff in an open samurai world. And I think gamers are really seeing that as the last long-term game to come out in this Corona lull.
Yeah.
Everything else is going to be after the Corona lull. It's going to be a huge hiatus for a fuck ton of games. And just look at the PS5. The PS5, everyone's already starting to speculate that the PS5 is going to have really underwhelming supply, and all the people that were really gung-ho to pre-order it are going to be the smart ones in hindsight. Mm-hmm. And I would tend to agree. If you're one of those people that really cares about getting the systems. I know me and you aren't the type of people that really care. Like, I mean, we want to play the game, so we're not. I'm not going to pay top dollar. I'm not the type of person to pay top dollar for first gen of anything. You know, I want to see second version of something. I want to see bundles. I want to see a deal. I want to see some, or I want to see a fucking A-class compelling title like Cough Cough Bloodborne 2 or something to sell me on a system. I'm not saying Demon Souls is a letdown by any measure because it looks awesome, but still. It's this PS5 isn't that appetizing to me to the point where I'm gonna buy it day one. So
no, and I think the only game that they showed on the PS5 that I thought was a system seller, gotta buy it, it's ASAP, was Resident Evil. But Resident Evil isn't a launch game, so you don't have to buy it necessarily right off the bat if you want to play Resident Evil right when it comes out. And not only that, but there's a good chance that Resident Evil is also coming out on PS4 and Xbox One, and
PC.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, I don't even know if it really even matters that it's a PS5 game.
Yeah. You know, that's, you know, you bring that up and me kind of just squeezing PC in there has almost made me realize that PC has almost joined the console war in this natural cycle of things. Like consoles used to be consoles, but now as consoles become more like PC and closer to the sun they get, now the sun actually joins the game, which is the PC master race. You know, so now consoles are actually compared to the PC, whereas the PC was compared to consoles before, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I did end up getting, I think, like the last copy of Ghost of Tsushima in the entire western coast of Washington. Probably not, but it felt like it based off of the ordeal. Like it was, I think it was like the 10th place we tried that we found it, and it was the last copy they had, and we had to have them hold it for us, and they didn't want to hold it for us, but I begged them to hold it, and they did, and I got it. But it's just like, you know, you expect something like this with like a new flagship Final Fantasy or something to that effect. FF7 remake. I would have expected it for FF7 remake, not for Ghost of Tsushima. I've only played 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I'm like pretty deep into the intro level, but I'll tell you right now, man, what I have seen, this game is smooth as butter. It has so much care put into it. The way that it feels as you play it, you can just tell they went over it over and over and over to get this game to feel right. And it shows.
It's how games should be, to be honest.
It is. I think Sucker Punch, combined with this coronavirus thing, making the game an instant system seller, apparently, combined with the fact that I think, based off what I've seen, that the game is a legitimately amazing game. This could be something that puts Sucker Punch on the map.
I hope. I mean, I've been a huge fan of Infamous games. To be honest, I haven't actually played Second Son at all.
That's a shame.
The only reason I played Neon Lights and I even know about that girl and her powers is because I think I played the DLC when it first came out over at your apartment back in the day.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I mean, I'm a huge fan of their studio. I played the first two games extensively in DLC for the second one too. Or not DLC, I think it was just like one expansion or something. I don't know. I might be misremembering that. But nonetheless, they're a great studio. And, you know, now that we're kind of just talking about the success of Sucker Punch, it makes me realize that Sony's in-house studios are just they're very consistent. They don't let down a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Any exclusive in-house titles from Sony, or even exclusive titles, period. The developer studios don't have to be necessarily in-house, but just an exclusive title. Their pedigree is so high with exclusive or in-house titles that you never seem to be let down.
Yeah, I think it's
at least as far as I remember.
No, I think you're right. And I think it kind of comes down to the archetype of the industry at this point. So you have three different types of developers. You have the mega publisher developer that's under Activision or they're under EA. You have the indie developer who's under nobody that just threw their game on Steam and, made a few bucks, but they're not doing any crazy money and they aren't under an actual publisher. They're self-published, basically. But then you have the in-house developer, and the in-house developer exists between both those worlds. They don't have a real publisher. Their publisher is the console maker. Now, the console maker wants to make a profit, but they're trying to make a profit a different way than the mega publishers are. They're trying to draw people to their console with exclusive titles that are insanely good that gets people to buy a $500 piece of hardware just to play it. This creates a situation where the developer has everything going for them. They don't have a crazy Activision telling them what to do to monetize, to ruin their fucking game. They're not poor with a low budget because they have no publisher at all. They have a publisher, aka the console maker, that only wants them to make the best fucking possible game they can so that they can sell systems with it.
Yep. It is a really the way you talk about it, at least, I'm sure there's people from the inside that would talk from it that would say otherwise, maybe from their experiences. But it does seem like from the outside in, like it's the most nurturing environment to build a game, is to be under the umbrella of under the exclusivity of an umbrella from the console maker, where the only, mission or, goal is to sell the console. Therefore, that is you making the best game you can possibly make and nothing else. Whereas with other companies, it's always like, there just seems to be an agenda. Is this kid friendly? Can I microtransaction this? Is this going to allow me to market to this demographic? Can I a good example is EA with Star Wars, think about what Sony, an in-house developer like Sucker Punch, could do with Star Wars compared to the blunder that EA, this Goliath, this Titan of industry, did with Star Wars. It's just laughable when you think about it.
Yeah, I know exactly what we get. We get the next KOTOR, but we don't deserve that.
No doubt you would. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Sucker Punch. I plead to you now.
Speaking of sucker punches, Broadcaster Nickels, you recently had me download and purchase a game called Hunt Showdown. Would you like to discuss for a moment the absurdity of the fact that you can play that game for 25 minutes and then randomly have a dude with an axe come into a room and just one-shot you in 2 seconds and wipe your entire team?
I will say that I've put in probably close to 10 plus hours into that game now. And that was the very first time someone like Hollywood Jason Voorhees fucking axed me like that. Like, I was like, what's that noise? Turn around, axe to the face. I was like, that was pretty scary. But nonetheless, before I purchased that game, I was looking up reviews. And on this forum board, someone posted that Ben Affleck meme of him kind of in the Justice League days or the BVS days, where he's kind of slightly overweight, kind of looking down on himself, but he's sitting outside a door in Manhattan or something like that. I'm not going to really try to concentrate too much on that, but he's smoking a cigarette and he just looks fucking like he just wants to give up. It's a meme that's used a lot, so I'm sure somebody that's listening to this knows what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, when I'm looking up reviews of the game on a forum board, I see this meme that's that picture, and it just says, after playing 2 games of Hunt. And I'm just like, huh. And I totally feel that feeling now that they're trying to say. When you play a couple games of Hunt, it's just so demoralizing. You're like, why am I doing this? But you do it anyways because it's a really fucking good game. And I'll start with this. the audio and the atmosphere. Two best things it has going for it. The audio, which if anybody looks up videos or whatever, they know it's some fancy shit I'm not going to even try to pronounce right now because I can't. But it's really good audio. The other thing is the environment. The moment you step into the game, the environment and the soundtrack and the menu and everything, it immerses you.
It's haunting and it draws you in immediately.
It's haunting. It's a very appropriate word. And I'm in love with it, to be honest. I think it's the one thing that continually draws me in. Other than the punishment, because I like good punishment, but those two things.
Yeah, I really like the game's setting. I like the late 1800s downtrodden southern Alabama type, bayou, New Orleans type area, but with zombies and monsters out of Hellraiser. It's just a really cool little, as someone that is a horror movie person, who's into horror, it is a really well done horror game.
Right.
But it has problems too.
It does.
And
I think it has the problems of almost like what a cookie cutter game has problems with,
Mm-hmm.
that it almost, that it's very shallow is the way I would put it. Once you get to the rhythm of the game and you get past the romance of how I said, the environment and the soundtrack, once you fall out of love with whatever aspect you like about the game, you realize that it's very shallow, almost like a phone game.
Yeah.
I think that's its main problem, is that it doesn't. There's maybe I might be looking at it at the wrong way, maybe, but it just seems that way, and I don't know if making different variants of gameplay would really fix that, because I think they have two other variants of gameplay, but they're not popular. Bounty is pretty much the go-to mode.
Yeah, that's the only one I've played.
Yeah. And
it's a very unique twist on Battle Royale format, because what you said is 4 teams. It's not very many, right?
Yep.
So
12 people max on a map.
So it's barely a Battle Royale. It's like a mini Battle Royale. And essentially the point isn't even killing. I mean, I guess it is if you're trying to level your hunters up, which, by the way, die permanently if you lose after what level is it? Is it 15? Or
so
20?
There's two ranking systems. There's the account ranking system, and then there's the hunters level. The account, once you hit 10, so once you're 11 and above, you'll lose every hunter you play with if they die.
Oh, okay. So I haven't. That makes sense.
Yeah, you're in the romance period right now where you don't lose hunters.
Interesting. So yeah, you lose hunters permanently, but then they let you get free ones basically infinitely. So it doesn't really matter, but it kind of does. And it's like you become protective of these characters. And if you have one you really love and you take it in and you die randomly, just like that fucking encounter with the guy with the axe that just literally came in and Jason Voorhees does, that would have been devastating if I actually had a really cool hunter that I had worked on for a month straight.
Right. No, for sure.
It's an interesting hook to the game.
It is an interesting hook, and that hook in itself has layers, because I'd say a handful of days, maybe 5, max a week ahead of you in the game before you got it. So I've had that much time to lose characters and also rank up my account and get better weapons and just understand the flow of the game. And something that I've noticed is I went from this cherishing characters, don't want to lose them if I even get up to level 6 or whatever, to the point where I've discovered new mechanics of the game where I see that you can retire characters now, which I'm not quite sure what it does, but the max level character is 50. and you only have 5 character slots, and I'm almost positive there's no pay-to-win mechanic that allows you to have more hunters. You have those slots. Maybe it's 6. It's 5 or 6, but whatever it is, nonetheless, is you have that amount. And if you get all those up to level 50, it's kind of like, what's the point? You know? So I think this retire mechanic is where prestige comes in. Maybe not. The two things might be separate, but nonetheless, is that there is some type of end game mechanic where getting characters up to level 50 and retiring them is a thing. So the worry of losing a hunter it's not as big as a threat as you think. I think getting a character to level 50 and incentivizing this retiring mechanic is a thing. But I'm not that quite far in the game yet.
Yeah.
I'm only theorizing at this point.
Yeah, it is definitely a shallow experience. I agree with you on that. I started to realize that really early, like my 3rd or 4th game. It's like, okay, I see what this game is, and it's really cool in certain ways and also kind of weird in others. Like the fact that how sluggish it is. You move like you're walking in molasses. It is really odd when you're used to modern video games where you move quickly. It feels like you're playing in slow motion. And even when you're dashing, it feels slower than walking in most games. Now, the weapons are very interesting too. Most battle royale type games, you can find weapons and chests and all these upgrades and stuff, and you can really upgrade yourself throughout the match. In this game, it feels like most of the loot you find on the ground is garbage. You do every once in a while find like an axe, that we recently met in person. You can find those, but I haven't noticed a whole lot of like actual like, oh, let's go get this loot. Oh, look at this drop. Oh, this and that. The only real loot upgrades I feel like come from other hunters.
Yeah, I mean, those are the most apparent. And that's one of the characteristics of the game, if you will. The loot in Hunt is very hidden. There's, as far as actual loot on the field, other than medicine containers and ammo refills, are very few and in between. There's these toolboxes and maybe a couple other things that I can't quite recall, but they're the only things that actually give you items. And then there's the hunters you kill that you can loot. That's it. Those give you consumables and stuff like that. I don't know if you've ran into that where there's like a red old school lunch box looking thing or something like that gives you a consumable. That's pretty much the extent of the loot besides the medicine cabinets and the ammo refills.
Yeah, it's very limited compared to every other battle royale I've played. So it's interesting.
But the loot does really come from the hunters that you kill, because unlike most, well, I'll take that back, because our extent of most battle royales is Blackout and Warzone. But in traditional battle royales like Fortnite and stuff like that, you can actually what am I talking about? No, you can take the weapons of anybody you kill. So I guess that's just a thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a different animal.
I don't know why I was thinking for a second that you didn't get weapons from the people you killed in other battle royales. I'm really deep in the crack cellar right now, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've never actually played Fortnite. I've just seen people play it and was never impressed. And I'm not really into cartoony graphics like that either. And the whole building block part of the game is, I think, stupid as hell. And
wow, really? I thought that was like the only cool part about Fortnite is the fact that you can build I always found it, I don't know, admirable. Like I looked at it, I'm like, dude, I'm not that quick on my feet. I don't know.
It just
how
reminds
people
me
are that good.
It reminds me of Minecraft, and I don't like Minecraft either. So
Minecraft is stupid.
It is stupid. I believe it's stupid. I really like Notch.
Come at me, internet.
Yeah, I like the guy who made Minecraft a lot. I follow him on Twitter, and he's a cool dude who knows a lot of worldly facts and has his feet on the ground. But I don't like his game. I think that Minecraft is one of the most overrated video games of this era, and I still cannot believe Microsoft paid that man what they did to take Minecraft from him. Holy shit. What a legend. That guy sold Minecraft and he became a billionaire at Broadcaster Nickels. That is something every man should aspire to.
No shit. Talk about a very, not only smart man in the traditional way, like he has like a real skill and he made a game and he made he knows how to make something. He made the product and he sold it, but he was also business savvy and he sold that fucking product at the right time. He didn't cling on to it. He didn't act like it was his baby. Maybe he did for a minute. I'm not acting like I know the history of this guy, but just seems like a really smart guy, right? He fucking made a fucking millions of dollar product and he's just let it go. And he's just like, I'm going to chill now. I'm going to say shit that's on my mind because I can afford to on Twitter.
Yeah. He has the ultimate level of fuck me money.
Exactly. I really admire him for that. Because I see a man that's just like, you know what? I don't need people to agree with me. And I want to get there. It's kind of like what we're going to review here soon with Legion and Omega level mutants. It's like a level where you're just like, you know what? Go fuck yourself, existence. I'm better than you.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of things that are Legion, are you ready to get to our preview of one of the greatest video games to ever grace our desktop? Gamer Girl.
BRB.
Are you sure you're up for this preview? We can preview the upcoming NBA season if you'd like instead.
What's that? You want more Crack Cellar? This is good. Join your lords on Twitter at The Crack Cellar and Facebook.com/The Crack Cellar.
Hey, you over there. Are you a straight-up Chad or a strong woman? Well, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and your favorite podcasting app. Or, if you're a straight-up beta cuck, find us on YouTube with the rest of the Cloud Chasers. And we're back with our preview of Gamer Girl.
What the? You gotta warn me when you come in with that type of heat, bro. You gotta be like, mute yourself real quick or something.
Please ignore the misogynist who just interrupted this introduction. Broadcaster Nickels, Wales Interactive has brought us the game of our time. It is the game of an era. My best friend, David Banner, you know David, right? I brought him over to a few luncheons with you at the villa.
Yeah, I'm boys with Banner. You trying to bring heat?
David Banner. Okay.
All right. Professional.
Okay.
Professional.
As you know, Broadcaster Nickels, David Banner brought us such hits as Mane of Scare.
Yeah, me and Banner go way back.
But today, he's going to crush the patriarchy because the man that brought us Time Carnage has brought us now the glorious rebirth of FMV games, Broadcaster Nickels. Today, we will crush the patriarchy once and for all through the power of FMVs.
Man, how long has it been since you've seen an FMV?
Well, it's been at least several minutes since I watched the trailer for Gamer.
What are you trying to do here? You can't.
David Banner. Looking at David Banner kind of like Stephen Baldwin. I've like created this mythos in my mind now. David Banner. Only one man would dare take on the toxic fandom. David Banner. Feminism has an ally.
David Banner would like his FMVs back.
As you know, Broadcaster Nickels, Wales Interactive is bringing us the death of the patriarchy. Today, and only today, will the glorious rebirth of FMVs bring us what we now call Gamer Girl, the interactive adventure that you control the woman. Yes, that's right. You become a moderator, and you're going to make text box decisions that choose FMV1 or FMV2. Do you have what it takes to choose your FMV, Broadcaster Nickels? Because if you do, the patriarchy will be crushed, Trump will be defeated, and the borders will be open. The walls will crumble down at our feet, and our Antifa brothers will become the senators and the congressmen that control this great country.
I don't know about no DACA, and I don't know about no ICE, but I do know that I want to be a gamer man to this gamer girl.
So David Banner is very brave, okay? He's made a game about a strong woman who is a girl who makes money on the internet streaming. And she is a real gamer, okay? Don't get me wrong. She is strong and she's independent, but she plays games just as good as the big boys, all right, Broadcaster Nickels?
She also directs.
She does.
Too soon?
Listen here, you misogynist bastard. This game is going to change everything. This game is going to save the soul of America. Soon, the toxic trolls of the internet that have plagued us for years, making posts like "Nobama" on random message boards throughout the internet, they will be crushed at the feet of David Banner.
Is that like Bruce Banner's illegitimate fucking brother or something like that? That's what I feel when you invoke his name. David Banner.
Did you just assume his legitimacy? Did you just do that? This game was made for you, Broadcaster Nickels. This game challenges you to become a non-bigot.
I mean, everything you're telling me, Two Spirit, is that Blade Runner 2077 was actually talking about David Banner and his gamer girl. Is that what you're saying right now? Was Joy the gamer girl? And was Ryan Gosling David Banner?
And what you've just listened to is the ending of Tenet, narrated by Broadcaster Nickels.
Hold on. Don't go yet. Don't go yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Han Solo.
Broadcaster Nickels, is this game a joke? Is this real? Do you think that this game, Gamer Girl, is actually a real game?
Yes, for sure. Because I don't put anything past 2020. For one, let's jot that down in your notebook. All right,
it's all right. Noted.
And two, I mean, I grew up with Newgrounds and sim dating and in fucking the most cringiest of cringe things that my generation did. All right, and
pioneered.
Pioneered.
Don't sell yourself short. You know pioneered it.
Thank you, Two Spirit Penguin. There's not many out there that would give us credit where credit is due. But anyways, I will go on that Gamer Girl is really just the ultimate manifestation of our sim dating world. Anybody that's familiar with Newgrounds, our E-bombs.
E-bombs, yeah.
E-bombs, yo. Or, you know, whatever was past my very brief internet generation, which seems like in hindsight, might be familiar with. And I'm sure aren't there DS games and other console games that still keep this genre alive? Steam has sim dating, don't they?
Oh, well, yeah. Are you talking about like the anime like slice of life, like visual novel
do not
games?
Be mistaken, Two Spirit Penguin. Do not be mistaken. This is live action anime sim dating. All right. Shit. That's what this is. It's people just associated anime with the genre because that was what pioneered it. but the genre has moved past the concept of just using anime. Now that like actual technology has progressed to the point where you can replace anime with these deep fake, if you will, in quotation style FMVs, you can essentially just get rid of anime altogether. You know, you don't need it in that genre anymore. Now you've evolved the genre.
Okay, you know what? This is not the third season of Steins Gate that I wanted.
Listen, man, I'm telling the truth. People deserve to know.
Yeah, this is basically the ultimate simulator. This is a game where you are the Omega simp, and you worm your way so far up into the friend zone that you become the free to play moderator for this e-girls Twitch account.
As you're explaining, it's just such a fucking joke.
It is. It's like, it's so weird, dude. You see shit like this and you think to yourself, in 2015, if I would have seen this, I would have 100% believed it was a parody made by some dude and not a real game. But in 2020, you look at it and you're like, fuck, this is real. And that's sad. And that's an indictment on 2020.
Well, I mean, let me dial you back a little bit. I mean, 2020, is it real? Is this a joke? Is this just like, what do they call that? I'm not even going to pretend to be smart right now, but like art on grad or whatever. Is this some weird, like fucking weird shit like that?
Well, I didn't want to bring this up to you on the air, but you know, since how you brought it up, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Our very first episode of the Crack Cellar aired in October 2019, right at the exact same time COVID-19 started in China. Literally at the exact same time. So
prophecy was foretold, as we said.
Now let's examine this a little further. The Crack Cellar, who is our mascot? Our mascot is the Joker. We use him as our Joker rating system. However, the real mascot hiding behind the curtain is actually the arch clown Kefka. He is the theme music of our podcast is Kefka's theme song. Now,
why what was you Kefka? Give the plot away.
What was Kefka known for, Broadcaster Nickels?
Burning the world,
poisoning children.
Oh, well.
And what have we done? What have we done, Broadcaster Nickels? What have we done?
I will say nothing until my lawyer is present.
How hard will this bomb? This game, if it's real, and we're going to go on the assumption that it is because there's a lot of evidence that it is. If this is real, how hard will this bomb? Do you think it'll have like a reverse effect where it's so bad and people saw the trailer and know it's so bad that people will actually buy it just to play it and see how bad it is? Or do you think it's just going to like vanish into the ether?
It's hard to say. I had to think about that a little bit because I'm always mistaken by these type of events in video game history because that game is so clearly so bad that no one that's not the right way to say it, but gamers en masse are not going to buy this game. You know, it's clearly not going to be a AAA game, not even a B game, not even a fucking indie game, whatever however you want to put it. Right? It's not going to be popular by any measurable amount, but there is going to be a small cult following that knows the story, the joke, if you will, of the history and the origin of the game that are going to want it, that are going to give it sales. And that's what I'll say. That's it.
Well, this game is absolute hogwash garbage based on the trailer. It looks like a Sega CD game. So if you remember when Sega CD first came out, all the games were these cheap FMV games that had almost no gameplay and just a bunch of FMVs playing to make you think you're playing something new and shiny. I remember a game called Sewer Shark.
I remember a game called Tiberian Sun, and we both liked it, all right?
Listen,
so don't you ever,
no.
diss Michael Ironside again in his FMV career.
Listen, dude, there are good games on Sega CD. Lunar is a Sega CD game. Like there is some legendary Sega CD. Don't get me wrong, but there were a glut of cheap FMV games that were released for like $70 at the time that were literally the exact same quality as what we're seeing from the Ultimate Simulator Gamer Girl.
So funny you say $70, and I kind of jokingly reacted to that, but that's not even. That's pretty much what I pay for all games now after tax, so it doesn't matter.
Well, you know, you pay for Ghost of Tsushima that much money, it's like, okay, you get something worth it. With this, dude, you're watching recordings of a bad actress pretend she's an e-girl and pretend you're her moderator and like bring her into her little simp friend zone masterfully. It's almost like a training video for simps.
That's exactly what it is. The lineup, and before I say this, I have no problems with these human beings. All right, I got no qualms with you, fine simps. All right,
there's fine simps on both sides.
That's exactly all you motherfuckers look like. All right, every single one of the development line looks like a simp. They look like the embodiment of who the moderator would have been for this bitch. When I say bitch, I mean very, very polite woman. Very, very polite dyed hair woman. All right. She is a very polite woman. All right.
She's polite all the way till the end when it turns into like a D-level horror movie at the end of the trailer. Could you believe that? Like
Blair Witch Project. I'm telling you, bro.
Yeah, no, totally. Like it was so bad. And like the when they showed like the thunder outside and the shadow of the man in the outside the window appear, you know what I mean? Like that was so cringy. But then they top it right after with her just like randomly running into a room, then screaming and it like cutting away before you see anything. It was like one of the worst examples of garbage I've ever seen in a video game. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and that's why I started this preview off, well, the real version of the preview, asking if this is a joke. Because in a lot of ways, this has to be a joke, doesn't it?
It's totally a joke, because we know in reality what really would have went down is that moderator that was stalking her, clearly, let's be real here, that's what's going on here. This motherfucker is stalking this chick, all right? Would have walked in on the real alpha male, that dude, whoever's in the movie clip or whatever. It's
streaming again? What are you doing?
Totally just again? Fucking nailing her again, right? Just totally just fucking hitting her from behind. He's gonna walk into the door and be like, "Melanie, my beloved, oh my god, no!" That's what would happen in real life, and that guy would probably go off himself or something. I don't know, some weird shit.
Yeah, well, our strong e-girl is going to battle the mean old trolls, and she's going to overcome the patriarchy. And meanwhile, in this trailer, the trailer's like about 2 minutes long. There is a total of 0.5 seconds of actual video game playing in this trailer. It's supposed to be about a female gamer girl. The name of the fucking game is called Gamer Girl. There is no games except for
you saw 5 seconds of gameplay.
0.5 seconds.
0.5 seconds.
Yeah, remember they like showed the super fake scene with her and her like girlfriend pretending to play Mario Kart, and like they showed the game and then it showed them moving around with the controller, and it was one of those things like really bad movie where they're pretending to play a video game and they're like trying to move the controller dramatically and shit, and you're just like, wow, dude. Like,
so cringy.
It's so bad.
It's so bad it almost makes me think like they're going for like a horror aspect. Like it's this weird, like so apparent it's fake, but you're stuck in this weird simulation with this dating sim. Like they could sell that more than the idea of it being a voluntary dating sim. If it was a horror game and I was stuck in this cringy ass dating sim, or I'm like, how do you escape? Do I have to like date this girl? Do I have to somehow kill this bitch? I don't know what's going on. But like, if that was the quest, I'd be like, all right, I'm in, right? Like, this is a good idea. This is a compelling story. But the idea that I'm volunteering into this cringy ass FMV dating sim, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I could go rent a gun and buy a bullet for cheaper. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty dire. Taking this game at face value, you really think that the industry is jumping the shark, and you wonder, because this studio, it's an indie studio, sort of. Like, it's not like a real indie studio, but it's a very low level studio. They've made a bunch of games, but they're all kind of like low level, and you've never heard of any of them. And I think they're mainly.
Wait, you haven't played Time Carnage?
Listen, Time
Are you
Carnage
kidding me right
sounds
now?
a lot cooler than the game itself is. I guarantee you that. The name is way better than the game.
Wait a minute. So I personally thought we were T-Rexes or some type of carnivorous dinosaur that was devouring time.
No, I don't think so. I think it's more of like an expose on mansplaining, but I would prefer the dinosaur version. So my thought on this game, and I don't have a lot of thoughts other than just, I think that this is just a hit piece on comment sections on the internet. I think that whoever put this game into this developer's hands and said, make this game, we'll give you this money, you just have to make it, we don't care if it sells, you have to make it. I think what they're doing is they're trying to demonize comment sections like Discuss, because as you know, a lot of comment sections are very loosely moderated on the internet. And most of those comment sections are very heavily anti-establishment, anti-PC culture, except for, like certain areas of the internet that are just dominated by super left-wing people. For the most part, comment sections are not playing ball with the narrative that the media wants. I think that if this game actually takes off somehow, or is pushed to take off, let's say George Soros just straps a rocket to this game and lights the fuse.
Whoa. Red alert, tinfoil hat.
I think you can look for Discuss to drastically increase moderation across the board. I'm thinking that what we're going to see are these big comment sections are going to be pressured into sort of federally moderating. So like Discuss, there's Discuss boards for millions of sites, and they're all different sites owned by different people. They just use this tool Discuss. Right now, all these sites moderate on their own. They choose how they want to moderate. I have a feeling what's going to happen is sites like Discuss are going to start adding a federal moderation that goes across the board, where they maintain a certain level of moderation no matter what the site owner wants. It's a shot across the bow. It's a big, big step to censoring the one thing that hasn't been censored much yet. Actual people's opinion, real people's opinions on the internet.
That cut was almost as deep as your Tenet cut. All right. We're talking about Gamer Girl right now.
We never stopped previewing Tenet. Every word we've said since we started previewing Tenet has continued to be a preview of Tenet. You understand that, right?
All right, I got to go take a shit and take a hit of the pen.
Broadcaster Nickels, do you give Gamer Girl a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or the dreaded side thumb?
The year is 2020, July 19th. I'm 30 years old, and I've previewed something called Gamer Girl. I'm confused, but yet enlightened by the times. I'll give it 2 thumbs down. 2.
The double. Yeah, I'm going to give this 1 thumb down and 1 thumb sideways. And
you're going to put a thumb in fucking Gamer Girl's butt?
Yeah. This is like the shot. We're going to give Gamer Girl the
shocker. You're going to give Gamer Girl a side thumb? What?
So the thumb down is for what we think the game is, on its nose, like how the trailer portrays it. The side thumb is for the dark horse, low odds chance that this game is a giant troll, and that when people actually play it, it turns into like a parody, and it's not serious. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it did, holy shit, would it be like an amazing troll job to like get all these SJWs all riled up for this fucking stupid FMV game, Simp Simulator, and then have them play it, and it just turn into like some straight up like
Hardcore porn. No, the Pornhub link at the end. To the last bit of the MMP.
This could be the
I don't know. I think I just stumbled on the true meaning of gamer girl, dude. If it really is a troll, it's just going to be a Pornhub link at the end and watch the full porn.
Yep.
They're going to be like, if you're interested,
yeah,
like on this link.
And the girl does kind of look like a porn actress too. She's like that level of girl where she's kind of attractive, but she's not like actually like super attractive. She's like in that girl next door area where that you would believe that they would be a porn actress.
You fucking bigot.
Speaking of bigots, are you ready to move on to our review of Legion?
We're not ready. We're not ready. We're not ready.
And we're back with our review of Noah Hawley's Legion. And the creators of this TV series describe it as the following. David Howler is a troubled young man diagnosed as schizophrenic, but after a strange encounter, he discovers special powers that will change his life forever. And boy, do they. Broadcaster Nickels, this is one of the greatest comic book adaptations of all time, if not the best. What do you say about that? There are a lot of comic book adaptations at this point in the year 2020. Can you think of one better than this one as a whole?
We talking about strictly television?
No, anything. I mean, television, it 100% is. It's not even a question.
It's definitely
television.
It's definitely been the television landscape. But
I put this up against the original Iron Man. I put it up against the original X-Men.
I would say it's of the same caliber of the original. Well, for surely the original X-Men. In fact, I would go to say that it is better than the original X-Men in my opinion. But maybe I'm just super biased because I really like Iron Man, but Iron Man was just this pivotal movie. It did so much for comic, live action, anything. Period. It just showed the world that you could get something as cheesy as a comic book idea on the big screen or the small screen and make it work.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, this is small screen, but it was made purposefully as an arc. The entire television series, all 3 seasons, you could essentially combine them all into a movie in 3 acts.
Absolutely.
And
I think that's what they were intending because they did chapters.
Oh yeah, they did. They, from the very beginning, every episode is called chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes all the way to the end.
Exactly.
But I put this adaptation up there with like the greatest adaptations of all time. We talked about Iron Man, the original Iron Man. I'm going to say it's up there with the Michael Keaton original Batman. It's up there with the Infinity War Part 1. It's up there with the greats. The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger. It's up there with the best of the best adaptations of comic books. And it came out of nowhere for me. I can't, like, when I first heard about Legion, I was like, really? You're not doing an X-Men TV series, you're doing a Legion TV series? And then I heard some British douchebag from Downton Abbey was playing David, and I was like, what the fuck? And holy shit, if this didn't end up being Noah Hawley's finest work. And this is the dude who fucking made the Fargo TV series. He's done some good stuff, and this tops all of it, in my opinion. It's an incredible accomplishment, this series.
It definitely is. I mean, without giving too much away, it just, when you watch the first season and then you progress into the second season, you get that traditional sense of, you know, a television series going into the second season. You're like, well, I mean, it was good and it progressed a lot of characters and stuff like that. But it's not until you see the third season that you realize that the first season is in the second season and the third season are so intertwined with each other. It really makes it feel like it's a really small batch story.
Yeah.
That might be a really stupid way of putting it. I don't know if that really details it enough, but it just feels super unique. But you don't get that uniqueness until you watch the third season and you realize that it's going to end, and you're going to get this, like, each season feels unique, and it's, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about right now, but
no, you definitely do know what you're talking about. Each season feels dramatically different from the last. Each season has its total own theme, and I don't want to go into those themes yet. We'll go into those in the spoiler section. But when you watch these seasons one after the other, you get this weird sense of, like, we're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy.
For sure. That's probably the best theme of the series.
Yeah. Yeah. And because of, like, this locked in direction from Noah Hawley on this show, there are literally no filler episodes. This is a show.
Absolutely not.
It never stops. There's never a time where nothing happens. Stuff is always happening. And I fucking love that about this show.
Nothing's wasted either. There's not one aspect of the series that doesn't reoccur.
Yes. Stuff from season 1 ties into season 3. Season 2 ties into season 1 and season 3. It all, like you said, it all kind of interchanges. And once you get to season 3, it really hits you like a wave from an ocean, just crashing on you.
Yeah, season 3 really makes you realize that nothing is wasted in this series.
Yeah.
And
speaking of nothing being wasted, Aubrey Plaza was not wasted on the role of Lenny. I liked Aubrey Plaza.
I mean, she may have been wasted a couple times.
Well, for sure.
I mean,
she's a girl of parties. We can definitely tell.
Are we recording right now?
I liked her in Parks and Rec. She was probably the best character in Parks and Rec. And man, I thought she was kind of just like, she's this hot little teenage, 20-year-old girl who has an attitude and is really good at acting sort of indifferent and aloof and like kind of offensive. And her character on Parks and Rec, it wasn't very deep, but it was good. She went from that to Legion. Like right after Parks and Rec, she started Legion. And goddamn, if this is not like the role that was made for her.
No way.
Her playing Lenny is like, it's just like signals from another planet. You see her doing it and you're just like, oh, you were made to do this. This is the role. Like if you were born to be an actor, this is that role.
Oh, she a little crazy. Aubrey Plaza's a little crazy, but I can dig it.
Yeah. And I think that the best Aubrey Plaza season is season 2. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but she's good in all 3 seasons. But I think season 2 is where she shines. I don't know about you.
It's so funny because I think that's the season she's probably in the least.
She is, but when she is in it, she's fucking amazing.
Yeah. It's so funny. I don't know any of you Metal Gear Solid. I don't want to give too much of the season away, but there is an episode that I won't give away chronologically, but there's a theme that's present if you've played Metal Gear Solid 5 and you're familiar with the character Whisper. I remember watching an episode in particular where Aubrey comes and just instantly reminded me of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she definitely, I think her independence shined in season 2 the most.
Mm-hmm. When
That's
she became,
sure.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. So without saying too much, her character goes through some changes throughout the show.
Absolutely.
The season 1 version of Lenny and the season 2 version of Lenny, very different people. But that being said, Dan Stevens as David, I really didn't like the idea of some British douchebag from Downton Abbey playing Legion, but I have to say, he was like Goku in this show. He just gained power slowly as he went on. Like, it was amazing to see how from season 1, which I thought he was ho-humming, season 2, which I thought he was legitimately good in, to season 3, in which I thought he made a career-level performance in season 3.
Absolutely. He did.
It was amazing.
Everybody did, to be honest. I feel like
I think
everyone...
there's some exceptions. But
yeah,
a lot
there
of them
is.
did.
But I feel like somebody came in and gave that whole cast a fucking spiritual pep talk.
Michael
And
Ironside.
they're, I don't know, man, somebody.
Hey,
and
do you
they're
apes
like,
want to live forever?
This is your final FMV, soldier. Anyways, it's just some of those people like really stepped up to the plate, including the guy that played David.
Yeah, definitely. There's performances in this show that will never be top for the rest of the actor's career. Several actors in this television series will never top what they did in this TV show, and I can say that with absolute certainty.
Damn.
I'm not saying they're bad characters. I'm saying that Noah Hawley created something special here. The writing in this show is as sharp as comic book based writing can be, period. And the character actors who were brought on to play these roles, most of them fucking nailed it.
Well, did Noah Hawley direct?
He wrote and directed a lot of it.
Yeah.
And he's the showrunner.
I would say that's probably directing is where a lot of the magic is at. You know,
Exactly.
like you can have a badass storyline and you can have some decent actors, but if you're not directing them right, you can just get some really shit performances. And I feel like that is where a majority of the burden is at in the whole overall performance of a film or a TV series.
Yeah. Yeah, and man, did this series have some incredible production values. Like, from a show on FX, you would think this show would have really low production values, right? FX is like, they make Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Great show, but not known for its high budget, other than keeping Danny DeVito happy somehow.
Honestly, I don't think you don't... I think that's part of their success is that they don't have to keep him happy.
Yeah,
he's happy to be. He's happy to be on Always Sunny.
yeah. But when I saw the jump in season 2, so season 1, without giving too much away, season 1 is much more straightforward, and it doesn't have a lot of crazy special effects or weird stuff going on that would cost a lot of money to do. You could tell that they made the season 1 on a slightly smaller budget. Season 2, the production value is like double. They just jump incredibly high right off the bat, and you can tell through several ways. You can tell this, and then you get to season 3, and it doubles again. Like, the stuff that you're seeing, every episode is like a movie. It's crazy.
It is. Season 3 stands out significantly.
It does.
It's really weird, and it's the shortest one.
Well, season 1 and 3 are both 8 episodes, and then season 2 is 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the middle season is fat.
Yeah, it's interesting because my progression through the 3 seasons is actually pretty sporadic. Like I initially watched Legion when it launched, and then season 2 launched. I totally sat on it for like a year, I think, or something like that. And then I watched it, and some time passed, and then season 3 launched. And I just recently watched season 3. I mean, I just got it done as of yesterday.
Damn.
So, I mean,
that finale is fresh.
Oh, for sure. And when I'm thinking about it, when I'm really thinking about the 3 seasons, season 3 is phenomenally. And I'll say this carefully. I mean, it's phenomenally better than the other 2. But I'm not trying to diminish the other 2, but season 3 just stands out. Yeah. Maybe it's just because it's the conclusion of all the character arcs. You see a lot of good characters coming to a close, and that just gives you that feeling of a good season, but I don't know. It just had that special sauce, that magical feeling.
I like all the seasons. I like the first season a lot, I like the second season a lot, and I find the third season to be magnificent. And I just have to say, Noah Hawley deserves our thanks, because there's a lot of bad comic book shit out right now. And he delivered something that is so incredibly good that nobody knows about. It's like, no one knows about Legion. It had really bad ratings. It had no press. It's sad. It's a travesty, because you have Captain Marvel getting 80,000 times more press than Legion, and completely undeservingly.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I like to think it's being seen by the right people, because all my comic book fans know about Legion.
Oh,
and they've all seen it.
Yeah, for sure. The nerds definitely know about Legion.
It does hurt me to an extent that it doesn't seem, at least to me, that it's well known as like the Netflix Marvel shows, at least. Like, I'm not too butthurt. It's not as well known as, say, Captain Marvel, because she actually has a AAA budget film, and she's like has a bunch of money and PR behind her to make sure she's known.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that Legion isn't even, at least as far as I perceive, not talked about as much as like even Luke Cage or Iron Fist or fucking Daredevil or Jessica Jones, it just breaks my heart.
Jessica Jones. You know, you're right, because Jessica Jones was on Netflix.
All of
more people know what Jessica Jones is than fucking Legion. And that, my friends, is why 2020 is cursed. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, do you have any final thoughts before we go into our spoiler section? Do you have any like last sales pitch for people that maybe haven't seen Legion yet and are thinking about watching it before they listen to our spoiler section?
For sure. I mean, if you like psychological thrillers and genre jumping series, I think Legion might be for you. It just got all kinds of crazy shit in it. So if you like sci-fi and fantasy, or just in general, you know, X-Men mutant shit, if you're familiar with it, it's an awesome series. And even if you don't know anything about that, and you're just into really good, well-written series, Legion is one of them. It truly is. Like, if you don't know anything about X-Men, if you don't know anything about comic books, that is still a really fucking good series.
Yeah, I don't think you need to know anything about the X-Men or about Legion, about Professor X, about David. You don't need to know anything going into this. You can just be a person that likes good television.
Absolutely.
And you just pick this show up, watch it from beginning to end. You don't need to know anything. You don't need to go back and read backstory of comic books. No. You just watch this shit as what it is, for what it is, and you will be blown away by it, in my opinion. I don't think anybody who watches this all the way through will not be blown away by it.
I'd concur.
My only warning, I guess, would be that a lot of people think of comic book movies as kind of fluffy and cute and PG rated because of what's happened with Marvel lately. This is dark and violent at times. It's mostly PG-13, I would say, but there are several instances where this crosses into rated R territory, especially when it comes to violence. And so if you're like adverse to blood and like some kind of darker stuff, maybe this isn't for you. But this isn't like the darkest thing I've ever seen. Like we're not talking about like some really heavy shit. It is heavy, but not in the violence department. But if you are someone that's like, I don't like anything that isn't like cartoon violence, you probably don't want to watch this. There's definitely some blood and some stuff that happens that might offend the timid. Spoilers. First episode. Was the first episode of this show not a very interesting way to start it? Because I felt that they kind of did a misdirect in the first episode. When I watched it, I thought that it was sort of like a mystery novel, and that I wasn't convinced David was actually a mutant. I thought this might be one of those little rope-a-dopes where he's actually just a crazy person that you find out in the end he was just psychopath and he murdered his entire family and that this was like some weird dream in the hospital.
Well, I think that's definitely what they were playing at.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. It was really interesting because it's the perfect type of one of those stories where how would Rian Johnson put it? Subvert your expectations, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad Noah Hawley is doing the new Star Trek movies and not Rian Johnson, because Noah Hawley knows how to actually subvert expectations in a good way.
So far, what I've seen, I haven't seen a lot of his stuff besides.
You gotta watch. You gotta watch Fargo, dude.
I'm going to. It's on my list.
Fargo is so good.
It's definitely on my list.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge comic fan, and I don't know too much about Legion. I knew of Legion because the list of Omega level mutants is pretty small. I don't know if you know this, but it's like 14 or so. I think it's 14 or 15, and so when you hear the name Legion, not only are you thinking of an Omega level mutant, but you're thinking of one that's in the top 5 and is the son of Professor X.
Yeah, there's the big one.
So, so it's like, damn, the series must be fucking over the top, must be high budget, fucking crazy shit. And it's not. But, well, it's none of that besides over the top. But it's over the top in a very psychedelic way. And I say psychedelic because not only is it based in the 1960s, but it's also very fucking trippy. I think it's probably the key word you could use to this series is fucking trippy.
It is.
It's a consistent theme through all 3 seasons. And there's not a lot of consistent themes through the 3 seasons, but that is one of them.
Yeah, I think you do well being altered on the good herb watching the show. I think it's almost like a prerequisite to watching it if you really want to understand it.
Could you imagine frying on some legitimate psychedelics? Like,
oh god,
watching the series
that might be dangerous, man. Like certain episodes. Like in season 3 when
it gets a little dark in season 3
when baby Sid is like reborn into the flower pot with Oliver and Melanie, and like fucking Rafi keeps showing up with like some hood rats like saying, yo dog, you want to have sex with my hood rat here? I mean,
bro,
I'll watch you while you fuck her in the ass or whatever. That's cool, right?
That flower pot was wild, dude.
That episode made me question if I was real, like if this universe was real or if I was just in a simulation.
Dude, watching a little teenage girl ask her illegitimate mom what chlamydia is, fucking, I was like, where is this series going right now? What is going on?
That episode was so out there, and
oh man,
there's a few episodes that are out there, but that one was the one where it was just like, oh fuck, if I was on LSD, this episode might change my life.
Yeah, I guess we skipped all the way to season 3 right there.
Well, let's go back to season 1 a little bit. I really liked the depiction of the Shadow King in season 1 because in season 2 and in season 3, you know who the Shadow King is. He's Farouk. But in season 1, we go back to that whole, this is a mystery novel thing. In the beginning, the Shadow King is this little doll guy, like a Chucky doll, called the angriest boy in the world. And they start going into David's mind and trying to figure out why he's so fucking nuts. And they see the angriest boy in the world in there, and he's the monster. And you think he's the villain. He's the antagonist. But then, at a certain point, he becomes the monster with the yellow eyes, who's like this Jabba the Hutt, really fat, weird-looking demon guy with yellow eyes that honestly is one of the most creepy demon type things I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what it is about him, but
season 1 had a mystique about the character.
It did, dude. Yeah. Season 1, the monster with the yellow eyes, it was different. There was something about it that it drew you in, and you're just like, this is some shit. This is some crazy shit.
The direction with the character from season 2 definitely killed that mystique.
It did. It did a lot, yeah. But then it becomes Lenny, right? So Audrey Plaza, our girl Audrey Plaza, she ends up being the monster. Then
Possessed by the monster for now.
Well, we find that out later, because then we find out that the actual demon is Farouk, and he's just been coming in these forms the whole time. And we don't even see the Shadow King's real form until season 2. And this is the type of show that
you don't see that blob type creature in season 1.
I'm saying you don't see Farouk, the actual Shadow King.
Oh, yes.
His name is Navid Negabon, and he basically pulled out one of the greatest villain performances of all time in comic book adaptations.
He did.
His portrayal of Farouk, aka the true Shadow King, is nothing short of astonishing, and he steals the scene in every goddamn scene he's in. Period.
He really does. I mean, I actually didn't really appreciate him till season 3, because I will say season 1 and 3 are my favorite. Season 2 is I appreciate the least, even though it's probably the most story building, because it involves the turning of the tides, essentially, like Legion being framed as the villain, and Farouk coming in and convincing Sid, and in the agency, which I'm losing my thought of what it was called, but all that turns against everything, flips sides, in that season. So
because season 1 is sort of a honey dick, it's a misdirection. When season 2 comes, it kind of sets things straight. It says, okay, here's the deal. Farouk's a bad guy, but so is David. David is going to be the real villain, and he has to be stopped. Then you see that this, what are they called? Division 3. You see that Division 3, who is portrayed as bad guys in the first season, are actually the good guys. And it flips everything around. And it sets up what the show really is, which is David is an Omega level mutant who has the maturity of a 14-year-old. And it shows big time in season 3.
Oh, for sure. Most definitely. That was the most interesting part about season 3, was the psychology play on David. Was that making him go all the way back to season 1, and how he questioning how he progressed as a character. And that really, ultimately, even when he came to fight the ultimate villain, is that his plight was childish. It also seemed like a true origin to a character like Legion, yes. Whereas, you weren't getting like this Omega level mutant with multiple personalities, but watching this character, David, and what he was going through, and you're being told this is Legion eventually, it's believable. You're just like, yeah, I can see this being the origin of Legion.
Yeah, definitely. I liked the way Division 3 was presented, really cartoony in season 1. I don't know if you remember, but like the interrogations and shit, like they were.
What was that guy's name? Alex?
I forget his name, but he's in like the whole show, and like his character takes a few blows throughout the show. There's
takes a couple licks.
And let's just say his attitude changes from season 1 to season 3, just a tad. But season 1 was very unique. And one thing I'll say for season 1 is that Sid was much better in season 1. I thought that Sid's best season was season 1. What do you think?
I think that gave her the most performance as a character to breathe. So I would agree with you in that aspect, but I don't know. I think Sid overall was even keel all the way through the 3 seasons as far as progression goes. I didn't think there was a season where I'm just like, wow, she grew so much in this season. Season 1 though was probably the highlight of the character though, just because it was the most pivotal point of her character's storyline.
Yeah. I mean, she's like a central character throughout the entire show, but she felt more cardboard in the later seasons. in the first season, she felt like a real human. Like, I felt the emotion behind her acting. And towards the end, I started to be like, I just don't see your heart in this. Like, there's just something stale about the performance.
Yeah, I mean, I thought a lot about that with Carrie.
Mm.
I wasn't a huge fan of those two.
Yeah.
I really wasn't.
Neither was I.
I every time their acting came in, I was just meh.
They didn't have a lot of chemistry with each other, and I think it ruined the character.
Yep. That probably was it. Well, that, and it's like, I'm not familiar with that character at all. I don't know if they actually have any comic book life to them, or if they were made up just for the series. But especially if they were made up just for the series, they could have gotten their ages a tad bit closer.
Yeah, but I guess finishing season 1 off, I'll just say that I really liked the way they did the mutant powers in season 1. They were kind of subdued, and they kind of tried to make it seem like it could just be him being crazy.
Yes.
And
that was the mystique of the first season.
It was.
Is this an insane asylum, or is there really mutants?
Yeah, it really was. And that combined with like the whole arc of them like going into David's mind and trying to figure out who the Shadow King is, and it was just really well done and really straightforward, and just had like this vigor to it where it was very rigid and it wasn't trying to be something it wasn't. It was a very straightforward storyline that ended with a really non-straightforward cliffhanger where after everything that happens, Farouk ends up escaping from David and going to find his real body inside Oliver. At the very end, some little robot drone shows up and teleports David out of the fucking what do they call that facility? Melanie's little X-Men camp, whatever she calls it. They just teleport him out, and that's the end.
In the forest?
Yeah, in the forest.
Yeah.
That was dude, was that not like really surprising when that happened? I was just like, what the fuck? That's a weird ending.
The beginning of the second season's even weirder, though.
It is.
When he's just in the diner.
I was convinced, dude. I was convinced when I started watching season 2 that I missed an episode of season 1.
For sure.
And I went back and I watched the last episode of season 1. I was like, I didn't miss shit. These fuckers.
Such a weird episode to open up with.
It really was. But it started to introduce David as Legion. You started to see the other voices in this in the very beginning of season 2. They didn't call themselves Legion yet. But that's what they were. They were the other Davids inside his head. Yeah,
it was also starting to show the dark personality of him while he's alone. Not being a dark entity in contrast to something happening in the moment with other people. Whereas like you were just seeing a scene where he was just talking in his head and you're just like, oh, yeah, this guy is... fucked up.
Yeah, for sure. And this is when, starting season 2 and going all the way to the end, this is where you start to see David for what he is.
For sure.
Not the hero. This is not, this ain't Cyclops. This is not the hero.
Well, this season introduces the actual, this is interesting. So this is where the comic book aspects of Legion kind of comes into play, because they kind of play homage to the original version of Legion in season 2 of Legion the series. The original Legion in the comic books before, current events and other adaptations of him, he only had 3 personalities: telekinesis, pyrokinesis, and was it Tele? And there's 3 kinesis or whatever, right? So and those were his 3 personalities, each personality representing one of those powers. Well, in season 2, as you know, introduced 2 other very specific personalities of him which then grew into towards the end of the second season into a hint of the majority, the mass of Legion, right? So I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was. I really liked the way they pivoted hard into Legion. Like, the first season was called Legion, but it really could have just been called, like, Asylum. You know, like, it was a really cool season, but it wasn't about Legion.
It was a world builder.
It was a world builder, but season 2 and season 3 are about Legion, and you start to see it begin really early on. I really thought that the deep concepts this season went into was very purposeful. They knew that when you start to talk about Legion, a character like Legion, you're going to start to go into topics that are really deep. And like when you're talking about an Omega level mutant that can do things like control the universe, essentially, like Doctor Doom. Like, we're talking about someone who can change somebody's memory in order to get them to have sex with you when they hate your guts and they want to murder you.
Doom's not a mutant, but he does have the power to make you have sex with him.
that level of power is intense. So what they do is they bring on John Hamm to narrate these little intros to each episode in season 2, and only in season 2, where he talks about these really deep concepts that match what's going on inside the episode. And I thought that was like one of the killer apps of season 2. Like, it really made it unique. Well, it got much more abstract and esoteric, like the concept of the bowl. They go into like these deep human consciousness concepts in season 2 that you like. You need to smoke some weed or do some LSD or something when you watch season 2. Season 2 is the season that you need to be altered to watch. It is fucking crazy what happens in season 2. And man, I just have to say that I appreciate what he did. Like, how brave do you have to be to make season 2 of Legion? That is not a traditional show. That is not a show that sells. It's not a show that makes money, but it's art. It's high art.
Yeah. Well, you have an antagonist starring instead of protagonist. You know, it's not a traditional archetype of selling a series.
Definitely not.
That's kind of how Legion is, though. You know, and that's what's most interesting in hindsight once you watch all 3 of the seasons and you look back and how well it's done. You're just like, well, it's kind of like how you'd have to do it to get it to be successful in any way, because Legion is just one of those kind of in the middle characters. You know, they're not, it's like Punisher, you know,
Mm-hmm.
You're not making this guy to be family friendly.
If you did, it wouldn't work.
Right. And Legion is kind of even harder than Punisher because he's not family friendly, but also he's not straightforward. He's this very weird split personality, psychedelic, fucking other dimension type character. You know, it's like, how do you do that on the little screen or big screens successfully? That's why I want to see Noah Hawley do Moon Knight, because Moon Knight, he like his split personalities, you know, it's like the highlight of his character. Like, everyone's just like, oh, he's Moon Knight, like he's the white Batman or whatever. It's like, dude, like, if you read any Moon Knight comic, you're like, fuck Moon Knight. I mean, don't fuck Moon Knight. Moon Knight's cool and all, but it's his split personalities that make the character. That's what's cool about Moon Knight, is that he's Jake Lockley and Mark Spector and Stephen Grant, you know, and that's exactly what Legion is. You know, Legion has all these split personalities, which all have the name Legion, but nonetheless, you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. It definitely. I mean, Dan Stevens, he really embraced this shit as it went on. we talked about how he just kind of got better and better as time went on.
He did,
but
he aged with a fine wine.
It's almost like after season 1, he like went and read all the comics or something. He's like, I'm going to really get into this now for the last 2 seasons, because there was something different as it went on. And his interplay with Farouk, starting mid season 2, when Farouk he resurrects Lenny by sticking her inside of his sister. That was some sinister shit, dude. Like, that whole thing where, like, Lenny shows up in a human body. Lenny wasn't real. Lenny was a part of the Shadow King. They're like, what the fuck? I'm not supposed to be alive. What happened? And they figure out, oh, Farouk was like, let me get a sample of her DNA. He takes it. I'm going to splice it into Amy. Then I'm going to stick a consciousness in and create Lenny, and then send Lenny to David. Oh, it's like the reverse Trojan horse. It was just it was such a baller move.
Listen, David Howley can't fool me, all right? I know why he's doing this. He wants to get Aubrey Plaza in as much as he can. All right? I get it. All right?
The term is upgrade.
But you are right. That was some fucked up, sinister shit.
Yeah.
Some real fucked up, sinister shit.
Yeah. So basically the plot of season 2 overall is Farouk trying to get his original body back. He gets his original body back, fucks with David, and does this shit to him. And then in the end, he has like this little battle with David. But what ends up happening...
Little battle with David. It's pretty
badass.
Crazy. Yeah.
But what ends up happening is that Sid gets turned against David, and Sid tries to murder David so quick.
You know, I want to bring into question to that. She is so easily impressionable.
Oh,
like,
God,
I mean,
dude,
what the fuck? Like, she just like the love of her life. She's just like, okay, you know, she's just like, I've seen your true face. All right.
Yeah.
I'm convinced, bitch.
I know. And like Melanie's little speech to her that was supposed to, like, supposedly what turned her against David so quickly. That speech wasn't very convincing. Like, it sounded like something like some dude on a street corner holding a sign saying the apocalypse is coming, pray to Jesus. Like, it was on that level. Like, the fact that it turned Sid so quick against him is one of the reasons I criticize the Sid character in season 2 and season 3. And there's some other reasons too further in, but it just was weird. And I guess I can buy it. It's a comic book or a comic book television series. You know, you can't like hold it to traditional real values of like real human interaction. Totally. You can't do that. But what I will say is that her betrayal of David led to one of the reasons I love Aubrey Plaza so much in season 2. See, Aubrey Plaza, like, literally took a bullet for David. Like, she fucking shows up and saves his life, and they just go off into the sunset together. That's like the end of season 2. It's just like them being like, David, you're a bad man. David's like, what are you talking about? What you're saying hasn't happened yet. Is this Minority Report? Are you Tom Cruise? And they're like, you bad, David, you die now. And then him being like, you know what, fuck all you guys. And him just like flicking his fingers, blowing them up, and teleporting him and Aubrey Plaza to their like little sex plaza, wherever they go to get down. And I love that part about the ending of season 2 very much.
Fuck yeah, man. I mean, that's how I'd end my season if I was starring in a series with Aubrey Plaza. I mean, let's be real here.
Yeah. I can't understate enough or overstate enough how much Farouk is so good in this show in season 2 and season 3. That actor, I don't know who he is, but he needs to get more work.
He does. He does. He reminds me kind of like Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, like an Arab Ben Kingsley, definitely,
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't know what he is, but I don't want to say Arab. But
he's definitely Arab. Broadcaster Nickels, are you afraid that our Gamer Girl preview has put you on a list and you must now repent?
I will never repent to the Gamer Girl. I am in contact with Zombie Unicorn of Bully Hunters, and I'm told I'm protected for the subscription fee of $10.99.
I'm told I'm protected. That's the quote of 2020 right there. Well, before we jump to season 3, one last thing I want to say about season 2 is that the Sid backstory was totally out of left field and super dark. Could you believe that when they did that little backstory for her where it showed her as a kid framing her mom's boyfriend for child molestation? That was some fucked up shit, man.
Yeah. Bro.
She tried to come off like she was the victim, too. That was what was so crazy about it. Like, her attitude was like, I ruined this guy's life. I'm the victim. Like, it's like, what?
Yeah, that's probably the most 2020 part of the series, to be honest.
It was weird. It was very... what it did for me is it painted Sid as a villain. And I guess that kind of works because in season 3, she is kind of the villain, right? She's going after our protagonist.
First half.
I'd say first 75%, right?
I mean, I think after like the first half, it was clearly defined that her emotions and motivation were changing.
I guess. I don't know. You're right. At some point after the 50% mark, she definitely starts to come back a little bit. But man, season 3. Season 3 is a season that knows and embraces the fact that it is a final season. And that is so refreshing in this age of like shows that just think they're going to go on forever and refuse to make a final season, even when they know they're going to be canceled soon or whatever the situation is. So many shows just go unfinished. The final season is nothing. It doesn't finish anything. It's just like, whatever. This season knew what was up.
Yeah. I loved the sing-alongs in this series because it really added to that feeling of it being the final season.
It did, and they did the Upside Down Castle.
They did the Upside Down Castle a few times.
All of his friends are now the enemies in season 3. Every single one except Lenny. And it's literally them hunting him relentlessly. The entire premise of season 3 is that they are all hunting his ass and he's avoiding them. And he uses this girl named Switch, who's introduced in the first episode.
Which is my favorite part of the season.
This cute little Asian girl, and she looks like she's straight out of a hentai. And she tries it.
Wow.
And she time travels.
Cut.
And this time traveling power is super unique compared to most time traveling powers. She draws a door. First of all, the way she draws a door in the sky or in the world, however you want to describe it, reminded me of Bleach. Remember the way hollows would come into the world in Bleach? Like a crack would open in the sky?
Yeah.
It reminded me of that. You go through this door and then you're in this hallway. It's like this crazy demonic, like hotel hallway. And each time you go through past another door, you get deeper and you get further in time and you get closer to the time demons. This was one of the most fleshed out, amazing plot developments in season 3 that just came out of nowhere and totally just redefined the show again. After it was redefined in season 2.
I think each season was defining itself. But it really was. This time hallway wasn't even the hallway. It was actually the cassette player and her listening to her father or the dude that was explaining time travel to her. I fell in love with that. As soon as I heard his voice and I saw the style of the text going over the screen, I was just like, this is my shit. Right.
Yeah. And that shit reminded me a lot of Lost. There's a certain character in Lost that it just like has a lot of Lost vibes. That whole thing was really fucking good.
It was one of the best parts of not only of the season. I think it was probably her story arc was the best part of the season.
Yeah,
but it was probably one of the most interesting parts of the series.
It was, and they even like broke the fourth wall with it. Like there was this part where the time was broken. Remember, like in the middle of season 3, time was broken and it just like started looping and looping. And there's this one point where it looped into an episode of The Shield for a few seconds.
I loved that, dude. That was fucking hilarious.
Dude,
I thought I had a
bold.
bad episode. I was like, shit, did I pirate the wrong edit? I didn't pirate anything. But did I get a wrong copy of the episode or something? I had to do a double take.
Yeah, that like it's almost like they're like, well, I mean, if we really want to talk about like who the real badass of the X-Men is, it's Deadpool. And they're like, bitch, we can break the fourth wall too, and Legion, fuck you.
It was such in a weird way, though.
It was bizarre.
It was like it did not explain itself at all. It was just like you have to explain to yourself. What'd you just see? Did you just see an episode of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Did you think you just saw an episode of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Was that something else that they made up for the series? Did you ever watch The Shield? Are you just familiar with Dick Mackey? Is that his name? Dick Mackey?
Sounds right. I don't know. I'm going to go with it, though. Yeah, that shit was weird and so on brand for like what we were expecting at this point with Legion. It's like everything just kept escalating so much. You're just like, at some point they're going to have to break the time-space barrier and break the fourth wall and some crazy shit's going to happen. And then all of a sudden the shield pops on. You're like, yep, there it is.
That really was fucking weird.
It really was. Another thing that was unexpected, but I wouldn't really say weird, is the Xavier backstory. I really didn't think that Professor X was actually going to show up in Legion. No. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought that there's like, well, you know, we don't want to step on any toes or like not like cast the right person or like, oh, it might like they might make a new X-Men movie soon and we don't want to have an alternate Xavier when they're about to make another new Xavier. Like, I just thought there was too much politics for them to do it. But no, they did. And holy fuck, was it not amazingly well done? Yeah.
It was pivotal, to be honest.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It really, I think it's between that and Farouk. I mean, there's so many different in Switch. There's so many different aspects to season 3, but there are so many hitters in season 3 that just make it the best of the whole series. You know, it's just crazy. Farouk's development, Switch being my favorite part of the season, and David's origin with Xavier it was. I couldn't believe the amount of effort that was put into season 3. It made me think that there was almost too much interest behind it. Like they wanted it to be knocked out of the park because they're planning on doing something with Legion in the future, which is why the series ended. They wanted the series to be knocked out of the park so people would remember him, and that when they use his IP in the future, they'll use that as a basis. And that's the only reason they were allowed to use Xavier.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I know that the ratings were not good on FX. Oh, man, but ratings aren't good for anything anymore unless like you're, you know, a sitcom on NBC or something. Like ratings on FX are never going to be good. So it's just a shame. I really hope Legion comes to Netflix and gets a huge surge from Netflix. Because I think that Noah Hawley deserves recognition for this show. This is a show that's pivotal. It's a generational type show. It is probably the best comic book television show we'll ever see in our lives, most likely. It's possible another one will come up and top it, but what are the odds? not good. I don't think they're good.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like as the comic book industry, like live adaptations of comic book IP grows, this type of imagination will be allowed more and more, because there are characters out there that are just as crazy as Legion. Legion is, as I said, he's in the top 5 of Omega mutants, but there are other ones like Jean Grey and Franklin Richard, it's Franklin Richards, Reed Richards' son, who pretty much creates universes, and there's Elixir. Elixir's a really cool Omega mutant that I wish they would touch on more. He essentially he has such mastery over the biological form that he can inflict diseases upon people. He can regenerate himself from nothing. He can heal people. Like there's really cool Omega mutants out there that I feel like deserve the amount of justice that Legion was given, And I'm not saying like just throw the gambit of them out there, because I feel like they do that with a lot of the majority of Marvel, but they can selectively choose some of these other Omega mutants to give the same treatment they gave Legion. Fuck, even like people like Bobby Drake, Iceman, and I feel like Iceman's a prime candidate because he's an Omega level mutant and he's gay. So there you go. Perfect for 2020. But he's also an Omega level mutant. And I know people think, fuck, Iceman, what's he going to do? Make an ice slide? But I will not shit you. If you read comics, the power and the scale Bobby Drake is capable of. And it's super cool. And if they applied that imagination they gave Legion, it would just be out of the park. So in that aspect, I think I'm optimistic that it will open the way for more shit like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that a lot of what happened with Legion is direct to Noah Hawley.
For sure.
The thing with this is I don't see Noah Hawley just saying, I'm going to do a TV show for all the Omega mutants now and they're all going to be great. I don't see that happening. But what you're saying is that you hope that this like inspires them to kind of give these other Omega mutants to other really good television series creators like Noah Hawley.
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of those guys out there. And a lot of them are...
Some of them might come out of the woodwork, though.
Yeah, maybe. But some of them think they're above comic books in general.
Well, fuck them.
So it's just like a thing where it's like, I understand what you're saying, but I'm kind of skeptical that that's going to come to fruition. But I hope I'm wrong about that.
Say word.
But so I really liked... I liked David's mom and dad. I thought they were both perfectly acted. Obviously, Professor X is the famous one. And I really, really loved when we saw Cerebro in its infant form. That was one of the coolest moments of the show, and a show that I love every moment of. When I saw Cerebro, I was just like, my child inside is crying right now with happiness seeing this. It was so well done. It was so awesome. And the mom portraying like this haunted woman who was abandoned by Professor X that has like demons trying to infest her son. That like it was so good.
Well, keep in mind too that his mother came from the camps, and Xavier's nemesis Magneto also came from the camps. Yeah. It was a cool little parallel there.
Yeah. That whole backstory was great. And man, the end of this season 3, it ends in such a weird place. It's like we have this meeting with Xavier and Farouk and David, but it's future David with his father Xavier in the past meeting past Farouk, And when they meet Farouk in his like little like palace, he has like a shitload of kids, right? And you're just like, whoa, Farouk's got like a clan of kids. I didn't expect this. And then like a little later in the episode, you find out that these are all his victims.
Yep.
And you're just like,
each
God
kid
damn.
imprisoning like a fucking grip of fucking loyalists from the king.
Dude, the Shadow King was done right in this fucking show, dude. Like, like the way they portrayed the Shadow King was so perfect on every level in every episode he was in.
It was also very interestingly done too, because if you look at Amon Farouk, the Shadow King from the comics, is that he's actually a combination of how he was portrayed in the series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you get the Shadow King, the Yellow King, or however you want to put it.
Yeah.
Which is like this fucking yellow glob Pizza the Hut looking motherfucker, right? And then you have Amon Farouk, the human, his host, which then you slowly figure out, or this is pretty much the same people, right? There, you think that there's this demon, and then there's Farouk, but then you figure out that they're just the two and the same people.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, it's just in the comics, for Amon Farouk kind of looks like the shape of that projection Farouk uses in his nightmares trying to abuse people. He looks like that with really sharp teeth, but has the circle glasses from Morocco and stuff like that. And the little
circle glasses are key.
And he has the hat, you know, the little, God, what's that hat called? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
He's not human at all. He looks like a fucking demon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was just really good. We can't.
I love how they split up though in like this duality, you know, in the series. They made this like really astral projection demon looking thing, and then they made a human, which still called out to some of his original hallmarks.
It was really well done, and I really love the final battle with David and the past Farouk, and the way that they made that battle with the effects was so trippy, and it was so fitting for this show. Like, you think of how the show's going to end, and like it was like this like LSD fireworks fight.
Let's talk about the moment that was before that, though. The preluded moment where they armed themselves in the room. You know what I'm talking about, where they said goodbye to Switch for the last time?
Yeah.
That moment felt like Metal Gear Solid 2 to me when they go into the S3 kernel. All right. I was really perplexed at that moment. I had to rewatch it 2 times because I was like, wait a minute, did I miss something? It's like all of a sudden their tones just changed. Fucking David was like, I'm going to pull this energy out my ear. Bink. I'm going to turn into a mace. It like reminded me of a fucking Solid Snake going infinite ammo and pointing to his fucking headband. And then fucking Xavier's just like, oh, I get it. Fucking just does it too. And he's like, and I'm like, what is that? A pill? And then I realized it was a bullet. And I was like, a fucking magic bullet. What the fuck? It was crazy. That was really cool. And a prime example of the essence of Legion as a whole.
Yeah, and we come to this weird thing where the future Farouk comes back and makes a deal with past Farouk to make a deal where David will live, but David's gonna die and Sid's gonna die. Like, the current versions of them will die, and it creates this weird time paradox. And the whole ending of the show ends up being David and Sid sort of like burying the hatchet next to the baby David.
Yeah.
Like this is like one of like the most bizarre. It almost felt biblical a little bit. Like,
don't forget though that in season 2 with Oliver and Melanie's little weird interlude videos. Remember that in season 2?
Oh yeah.
Remember those videos were post season 3. They had to be, because they were talking about the tragic tale of Sydney. which you see happen in season 3.
Wow, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Legion's going to be a fun show to rewatch in a few years.
For sure.
Once I start to forget about stuff.
Yeah, it made me want to watch season 2 again. Or just season 1 and 2 again, just because I noticed that towards the end of season 3. I was like, wait a minute. These motherfuckers were talking about this shit in season 2.
Yeah. Yeah, and so basically the entirety of Legion becomes a time paradox, and he is reborn as a baby that apparently isn't going to destroy the world, but do we know that, or is it just a loop and he is going to destroy the level? It's all, go in, and this is where it reminds me of Lost again. Like Lost has a very similar ending to Legion, and it creates this paradox where you're like, well, is it going to change, or is it just the same looping and you just think it's going to change?
Yeah. It's funny because if you're familiar with the comic book character, you would say this is tame. The series of Legion, season 1 through 3, what Legion was going through and stuff, is tame in its own way in its comparison to Legion up front. But in its own specific way, it's very off the wall. But Legion, Omega level mutants are like super, super powerful. They bend and bend and bend and bend reality around people. To the point where if you're just a mortal, if you're not someone with a fucking extreme intellect, at least, you just can't really fathom the ability of them, and you just can't even compare to them. You can't fight them on any level, and you'll succumb to any reality they put you in, and you won't even second guess it. You know, that's just what you live from that point on. And I think the series Legion really does a great job to make you understand that everything you see in season 1 through 3, it very well may just be the imagination of one of the personalities of Legion.
Mm-hmm.
They could write it off like that they wanted, and it's just how that series is written. And I think it's perfect that way because it's so Legion. You know, there are comics out there where it's a whole run of Legion just doing wacky and crazy shit, and then there's an epiphany moment where you realize he's just playing a game in his own head and he taught himself a lesson or something like that. You know, it's just, there's really weird shit with Legion out there.
Yeah. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, what is your favorite character?
I'm gonna go with Oliver.
There was something really supreme about Oliver, and like the way you meet him in like this ice cube where he's just chilling, like drinking martinis. Like, what is today tomorrow, or was tomorrow today? What was yesterday next year, or is next year next century? I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Have a drink. Here's a drink. Like,
even though he didn't narrate every single episode of Legion, I felt like he did. Yeah. You know, I felt like he was like the mascot of the series.
My favorite character is definitely Farouk. You know what? No, it's not Farouk. It's the Shadow King, because the Shadow King, starting in season 1, was defining. He was a defining villain. The way that when you first start with the angriest boy in the world, that little like weird 1930s cartoon character with evil eyes, and then he turns into this fucking the monster with yellow eyes, you know, the demon version of Farouk. The way it was portrayed was just so good, and he persisted through the whole series at a high level. In the first season, it's like he's a horror villain. In the second season, he's like this manipulative dad figure that's trying to like lure you into this trap and like make you think that he's on your side, but he's really, you know, trying to lay eggs in your brain and turn you into a fucking demon. And then the third season, I really thought Farouk legitimately thought of David as his son. I don't know how he did it, but he convinced me that it was real. The way he sort of like came to save David, like the future Farouk. The way the future Farouk came to save David from the past Farouk. The whole way that whole thing went down. he convinced me that he actually looked at David as his son. And I know it's probably a lie, and I was meant to be tricked, but I believe it. And that, from a writing and a character standpoint, is really effing good. Least favorite character, Broadcaster Nickels. Who do you not like in this show? There's got to be one character.
Super easy. Carrie.
Yep.
That is no. I don't mean any ill respect to the actors or anything. I just felt like, in fact, kind of thought the chick was kind of hot, but nonetheless, I thought that character just sucked.
Yeah.
It was just lukewarm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I wasn't a huge fan of Carrie, but for me, the worst character was the android Vermilion. Now these were, so there was like a Japanese general that controlled Division 3 who wore like this weird hat, and he had these androids around him that were females with mustaches. These characters disturbed me every time they were on screen. Every time they were on screen, I'm just like, go away. I don't like you. I want you to vanish from existence. I wanted to wish them into the cornfield. They were like robotic. They had no actual character. They were just there to annoy you, basically, visually. That's what they were there for.
I think they added to the weirdness.
I don't know if they were in the comic exactly the way they were, but either way, I think they came off in the TV show as just straight up annoying, and they added nothing, in my opinion. And even in season 3, when they like kind of tried to give them more meaning, I still thought it felt flat. I just didn't like those characters. That being said, favorite episode of the series. What is your favorite episode?
This goes back to my favorite part of the series in general, and something I think we glossed over, but the time demons and the initial episode that introduced the time demons. That was fucking cool.
Yeah, they pivoted back to horror a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah. I thought the introduction of them was super cool. How they didn't show them off right in the bat. They just kind of explained them as like this concept of time. It's just like, don't disturb time too much, or it just, there's a demon at the end of the tunnel, which I thought was just totally like a metaphor, like time was going to destroy them itself. And then the more and more they fucked with it, you started hearing the giggling. And I was just like, that's kind of cool. There's like these demons of time, and that's ended up what it being. And the actual aesthetic they picked, the costumes for these demons, I loved it.
Yeah,
it's like they're like evil grinning blue trolls of time, and the fucking CGI they use, the fucking visual effects, awesome.
Yeah,
I thought it was just super fucking everything to do with Switch in the tunnel and her dad and the time demons. It was cool, and it could have been a fucking Marvel series in itself. And I would have all been about it, because I thought Switch almost took the show for me.
She really took over season 3. Switch was such a surprise.
It was the biggest surprise. I thought Switch was what you were talking about, to be honest, when you were just like, you can't sleep on season 3. Like, it's crazy. Because after watching season 2 so long ago, I was like, well, I mean, I understand where the series is going, but I would have never expected something like Switch.
Yeah. Such an integral... It's so weird, because like usually when shows add a character in their final season, they're just tacked on, and they're like just there to be there. Switch is the final season.
For sure.
She literally is it. And she's perfectly acted, perfectly written, and like it almost feels like the real ending of Legion is her ending with her dad, which is bizarre.
It really is. Well, I think it's well deserved too, because in the series she's just used and abused, like totally, and they don't even shy away from that idea. they really illustrate the idea that David's a piece of shit just using this girl for her power all the way through the series. And
for sure, when you're seeing like her get these nosebleeds and like get increasingly sick, and like you see David just not giving a fuck and her like dying in front of it, it's like it draws at your emotions a little bit.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about it. But then she just becomes a god of time, and she's just it's all chill. It's whatever. Like, I get it. You were just pushing me towards a sentence. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good episode. My favorite episode is Chapter 24. And Chapter 24 is what I refer to as the sacking of the airship. This is when David and Switch infiltrate the time ship, and literally we have like some Kill Bill style sword slaughtering in this.
Yeah, this is when Farouk calls him, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This episode has like it's like Quentin Tarantino guest directed this episode. You see your least favorite character, Carrie, in her best part of the entire show.
No doubt.
Like, if there's any part that Carrie's good in, it's in this episode. And like when she murders his groupies, like, that was some gripping shit, dude. Like, that's like one of the moments of season 3 that sticks with me, when Carrie murdered David's hippie groupies on the ship. That was a scene.
Can we talk about the groupies for a second? I forgot about them for a second. We need to address this teenage commune that David put together in season 3, and how Lenny just, somehow impregnated one of them. And
that episode. Oh, fuck.
Having a kid with her, like,
yeah.
What the fuck was happening there?
Yeah, that episode was quite a weird one. It was up there with the flower pot Sid episode, but
anyways, the hippies in the commune made it to space with the Omega level mutant and sacrificed themselves for the greater good.
That they did, Broadcaster Nickels. That being said, it's time for our segment, The Hit, The Miss, and The Whiff. Broadcaster Nickels, what is your hit?
The Time Demons.
Ooh.
Time Demons. I mean, there's all kinds of hits. Dude, season 3 is a fucking hit.
Let's make it real
here.
To pick, yeah.
But if I'm really thinking about it, I'll actually dial back the Time Demons, and I'll just say Switch. Switch is the hit. But the Time Demons, dude, the costumes of the Time Demons, I really just loved it so much. It was so cool.
Yeah. You could just say the time travel arc.
Yeah, general. The aesthetic of the time travel arc is just dope.
It was. It really was. My hit is a little more esoteric. It was Noah Hawley's direction of the series. He could have taken this in so many different routes. And instead of doing like the family friendly, what you would expect Marvel Cinematic Universe version of this show, he took it directly into horror in season 1. And in season 2, he took it directly into LSD. And then in season 3, he took it directly into Quentin Tarantino.
Like, mixed with LSD.
The bold directional choices of Noah Hawley in this show should not go unrecognized. This man is probably one of the greatest TV showrunners in existence in the year 2020. I doubt there are any better than him, and if there are, they're few and far between. This was an amazing directional performance by Noah Hawley. Every episode felt perfectly in tune, but at the same time completely different than the last. And that is something to be hallowed.
No doubt.
But Broadcaster Nickels, what is your miss?
The miss. This might be a little out there.
Ooh, all right.
But it made me think about the way they showed the house that Xavier got for him and Gabrielle. What's her name? Gabrielle? David's mom, Gabrielle, I think. That house, was that the Xavier Institute? Because that house was really big and they only showed a couple parts. And I don't know, just the way they framed the house, it kind of looks like they've shown it in every other fucking movie. And it's
like a more subdued, realistic version of what the movies show. Yeah,
exactly. And I was like, man, that almost was kind of a miss in my head. The fact that they didn't address it at all, that they could have like just hinted to it a little bit and made you wonder even more. Yeah. Or they could have just been like, nah, they just made it not look like that institute at all, because they clearly picked a house that looked like the Xavier Institute.
They did, and I think that was purposeful. I think it was supposed to be implied that, especially when you see him put Cerebro on in the basement. But my miss is a little different. My miss is Lenny's suicide. So we talked about this episode where she somehow like impregnates one of David's hippie girls, and they have a baby, and like because of the time loop, it shows the baby grow up and all this shit, and like it's supposed to be super profound, and then like she sees it die and everything, and then she goes back to reality, and she's so disturbed by this that she totally flips her character a total 180 from like this psychopathic, drug addicted, crazy party girl who is like the most loyal companion of David to, David, you're a bad man, and now I'm going to slit my own throat in front of you to prove how bad you are. And she just murders herself with this knife. And when I was watching it, I was like, no, this isn't Lenny. This is not the Lenny that I saw in season 1 and season 2, or even in season 3 leading up to this moment. It was so weird and out of character and just out of nowhere that it didn't fit for me. And it was a really shitty end to Aubrey Plaza's role. And because really what I wanted to see from Legion, it was okay seeing Sid and David next to baby David and going into the sunset. I wanted it to be David and Lenny. I'm not going to lie, dude. I'm a shipper for David and Lenny. I liked them. I thought that the way that Lenny sort of became like this right-hand man, but also like this also hot-ass girl at the same time, and sort of had like his same penchant for like evil doings. Like, I'm not going to judge you, David, because I'm just as evil as you are. For her to like flip and become like this moral superiority character, it pissed me off. I didn't like it, and that is my miss.
I can feel it.
That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, what is your whiff?
Interesting enough, you ask me that.
Oh, shit.
Spirit. It was your miss.
Yep. I can see that.
It's a whiff for me because I thought the progression up to her getting the kid and the time demons getting a hold of what's her name? Hope or whatever. I forget her name, but the pregnant chick and Lenny, you know, going through that illusion, if you will, the time illusion or whatever, of the whole life that she would have went through. I thought that was really good, and I thought that was a really good progression arc for Lenny. But the whiff was her offing herself so abruptly.
Mm-hmm.
That was just really out of line for the character, in my opinion. Maybe Noah Hawley, I feel maybe he knows something we don't, or he's thinking something we don't. But I don't know. I just thought that was really abrupt and weird and out of character, and that's why it's a whiff for me. It was like high for that character, and then just a stab to the neck. Yeah. And then on top of that, when they're doing the sing-along motion, she's like the tree's absorbing her.
Oh, God, that was really weird, too.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Legion's fucking weird and all, but that was, like, just unexplained, unnecessary weird. So that tree just eats bodies slowly?
I actually debated if it was going to be my miss or my whiff. Honestly, it's funny that you have it as your whiff because I almost had it as my whiff. But I put it to the miss because I wanted the whiff to be something very specific when I really thought about it. And the whiff for me is that it didn't go longer. This show, as much as I love the fact it knew it was its last season and it made season 3 in a way that just like was killer, knowing it was the final season, it did all these things, it was really killer. I really felt like Legion had 5 more seasons in it.
Yeah.
It could have gone so much further, so much harder. And I kind of wonder if the ratings are the reason why, or if Disney is the reason why. I'm going to think it's Disney. Because if you look at it, Disney procured the rights to Marvel and, or the X-Men rights. So it had the rights to Marvel for a long time, but it procured the X-Men rights recently. And right when they procured the X-Men rights is when season 3 was made and immediately called the final season.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. I'm going to go deep into the crack cellar here, and I'm going to say Disney killed Legion, just like they're killing Deadpool and every other R-rated X-Men related property. And that is a huge whiff as far as I'm concerned.
No doubt about it. Yeah, it's a huge missed opportunity, right? To just finally make the actual character Legion at the end of the 3rd season. He's finally becoming Legion. And it's just like, that's it. That's over. That's a wrap.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we got through the backstory, and then as soon as the real story's supposed to start, it's like, show's over. Okay, I really liked what you did, and I'm not going to call shame on you or anything, but goddamn, dude, you could have taken this way further. Broadcaster Nickels, as you know, on the Crack Cellar Podcast, we use the official Joker rating system. On that system, what do you rate Legion, the TV series?
I'm going to give it. This is hard for me. It's really hard for me. But I think I'm going to give it a Jack Nicholson. Just because the series is over, for one. I think that's the biggest detractor for me. Is that even though, like you said previously, the 3rd season was really good. And I think they did a great job ending it how they could. It just seemed like half-hearted. Maybe that's a really bad way of putting it, but it seems half-hearted in hindsight of what it could have been. You know, it just didn't reach its full potential. And it just seems like a fucking shame. And that's why I don't think it deserves S rank, just because of that. And then there's also just some gaps in the storyline, you know, and there's a couple characters that are just kind of hit or miss. There's some flaws in the series, you know, importantly, like Carrie stands out to me, you know, where Carrie could have been more integral and, I don't know, portrayed better and not so boring. She really, they just really stood out to me as like the weak link in the group, you know? Didn't it seem like that? Like every time they're in the scenes, it's like, well, I know who's going to have the least, you know, attention. It's fucking Carrie. Remember that at the end of season 3, spoiler alert, maybe this went over a lot of people's heads, or maybe I'm just missing something, but those fuckers are brother and sister. And that dude clearly calls her my love. My love. And I got grossed out immediately.
Wait a second.
All right.
Wait, are we still reviewing Fire Saga? Or
exactly,
what's
bro.
happening right
is this
now?
Coincidence that this just happened 2 times in a row? Or is this a trend in Hollywood?
God damn.
I do not know. All right.
Well, we'll find out in late August when we see Tenet in theaters.
I know there's a lot of incest porn going on in Pornhub, right? But this cannot bleed out into reality.
Well, I am going to give Legion the Joaquin Phoenix. I have never seen a comic book adaptation go so dark and so anti-mainstream as this one. And I don't really appreciate it just because it's rebellious. That's cool that it's rebellious. I appreciate it because of the dark, twisted nature of the way they portray villain versus hero and hero versus villain. This is a television show where the protagonist is the villain and the antagonist might also be a villain. Everyone's a villain. And I feel like real life is much more like that than the standard archetype of heroes and villains. And for them to go full in on that the way they did with David and Farouk and the Shadow King, it just felt super authentic to me. It felt like this is something that wanted to be done and it wasn't going to let like, oh, you can't make that. Everyone needs a hero. It won't sell. This television show is like the television version of Death Note, where Light Yagami was the protagonist, but he was also the villain. And L was the antagonist, but he might be the villain or the hero, depending on how you look at it. That is what I feel.
That's a head fuck.
That is what I feel from Legion. And for that, I give it the S rank, the Joaquin Phoenix. And with that, we will close out.
Dude, I'd have babies with Rocket Watson. No doubt.
No doubt.